This is the Siege of Suffolk on Legendary difficulty. And you'll notice that I'm bringing in 2 units with 1861s. They're at 1800 in size. And then my first group of units coming in are over 1700, close to 1750 or slightly over. Then the reinforcements are generally smaller. My 2 stars. My 1 stars are oversized. And that is with, I hope they bleed down a little bit and get their 2nd star. And I still have way too many reputation points. I have to spend a bunch of them. The Siege of Suffolk is a very dangerous battle. The AI outnumbers you by so much in this battle that, yeah, and I can't bring all those units in right away, obviously. But the AI outnumbers you so much in the beginning of the battle. He has so many units, and of course they're all good units. And the question is, how are you going to hold until the rest of your army comes in? Now, when the rest of your army comes in, this is an easy battle. No question. It's won. Your reinforcements come in, battle over. But you can easily lose this battle very quickly. And I was very apprehensive going into this because I've watched a couple times what happened to Atheus. The AI was very aggressive, as he is on Legendary, and just ran right over top of the position. And that can happen. The AI, if he wants to, can run over top of your position, and there's very little you can do to stop him. If all of his units charge, I don't know how you would be able to hold him back. So the question is, where are you going to defend? Now, almost everyone who plays Siege of Suffolk says do not hold the forward positions. Well, there's a little gem here, and that is you can see 4 units in the forward positions, the forward prepared positions, and the entrenched works or prepared positions are all death traps, almost all of them. But the third one down, where I placed my unit, is not a bad position. That is actually a very good position. And I've had great luck with it on every level of difficulty before this. So this is the first time I'm playing on Legendary, and I don't know how it's going to turn out. But it has worked really well in previous playthroughs. So you can't hold the 2 to the north. It's impossible. But all I'm trying to do is buy time. So I want the AI to deploy as far away from me as possible and just buy time. Take shots on him, weaken him. If he charges, he takes my forward positions. But then he'll have to reorganize his army, and all of that takes time. And all I have to do is get my army onto this field, and I win. So my strategy is to meet him here and make that happen. The other thing I want to do is catch him in the water, where my units will do double damage to him, and try to get him to stay in the water as long as possible. The more I can do that, also, the more I weaken his units, the more I degrade them, the less likely they are to charge. So every unit that I'm hitting right now with artillery and infantry is less likely to charge in the future. And that's all I'm trying to do, is to minimize the chances that his units, and you can see he could take 2 or 3 units and charge into melee every one of my units, and my units would rout. And there's nothing you can do about it. And he has an enormous number of artillery, and it's all good here. And, no surprise, he has all CS Richmonds and Fayettevilles, and all 3-star units. So you're going to lose. Here he comes into melee. I cannot hold 2 units hitting my unit. He's getting that 2-unit buff. All I can do is maybe do damage to his units, maybe get them to rout, maybe buy some time. Now, the 1 unit charging into melee against my Harper's Ferry, he's going to lose. He can't win that. And something I do is I always have units forming a second line. You'll notice I have detached skirmishers and infantry forming a second line. When you have a situation like that, you cannot lose. You're going to win. So the 2 positions in the north did a great job. They hurt the enemy, they inflicted casualties, they bought time. Now I'm falling back to the main line. This is the main line. I don't have to hold this. I just have to hold this for some period of time and buy time. And again, if he were to charge right into the position, like I'm in the woods, it's a good position. But if he were to charge into that, I couldn't hold it. But what he's doing is he's sending one unit at a time in the far north. And the other thing is he's going to stand in the water. I'm going to try to catch him in the water as he tries to cross. The more shots I can put on him in the water, the better. In the south, my units are doing great. It looks like he doesn't have the mass of troops down there to win. That's all terrific. If I fall all the way back across the river to the victory location, that's fine. I still win this battle as long as I buy time. I move my supply wagon to the north. The supply center supplies everybody to the south, but it does not cross rivers. So I want to supply my units to the north. I have to move my supply wagon. There's no reason for the supply wagon to be on the other side of that river because there's a supply depot there. But the supply depot never extends across river lines. So the units to the north are on their own. So yeah, I have his... Man, I'm just taking shot after shot on his cav. That's great. I hope he doesn't retreat. Or I hope he gets caught on the river. Anything, just more shots on him is great. So yeah, his units have now clearly been damaged. A lot of them flashing white. I'm winning this battle. This is all going well. The great advantage he had at the beginning is not as much. He still has more troops on the field, as you can see, on the recon bar. But a lot of them are damaged, less likely to charge. And I keep shifting my artillery from unit to unit to take away his charge number, whatever that is. Artillery really drops his morale, really drops the chance that his units are going to charge. So, yeah, all this is going really, really well. I knew that his artillery, and he has a bunch of it, would do damage to my unit in the fortification, but I'm willing to take that. But he's doing less damage than I thought he would. And fortunately, he's targeting the unit to the south, so all that works out in my favor. To the north, I have Allied troops. They're both in the open, so they're taking losses, but they are doing their job, which is buying time and inflicting losses on the enemy. Now I'm watching his infantry move up. It looks like he only has about 1,000 men. The video, when I'm commenting, is a little blurry, but it's less than 1,000 men now. And it's moving very slow. So that is great. Okay, here we have the Ghost Cav bug, but I'm not worried about that so much. The Ghost Cav bug, I'm going to actually use that to my advantage, detach skirmishers, run that guy down, and kill him. He's down under 300, so a couple of detached skirmishers will be able to kill this guy. I just need to corral him. I don't want him to get away. And I certainly don't want him to capture my supply wagon. So the other units are a little lighter in strength, but we should be okay. Yeah, his units are moving slower. You'll notice that they're not as fast as they were because they've been degraded. So all I have to do is stay out of melee and hit these guys. Yeah, and his units are in the water. That's really bad for him. Keep the officer up there to keep the morale regeneration going. He seems to be clumping up in the north against my two allied troops. They can't hold very long if they get attacked by a large number of troops. And here the enemy comes. Looks like he's going to try to get into melee. All I have to do is, I don't care if those guys fall all the way back to the edge of the map. But my units falling back apparently pushed his cav unit out. Okay, that's bad because I have a supply unit there. So what I had to do is I had to detach skirmishers from other units, which I, cut out that editing part, and try to corral his cav unit. I want to kill it, and I'm also sending an infantry unit across the river to reinforce these guys who are getting charged. Again, I don't care if they fall all the way back to the edge of the map. That's fine. It looks like my detached skirmishers, I'm even pulling back a guy who was on the front line doing really good work, but I don't want his unit to get away. I want to catch him. So I now have 3 detached skirmishers back there going after him. I hope this other cav unit doesn't pull a ghost cav and he's dead, so I don't have to worry about him. They're really just a nuisance, and it's a shame that bug is in the game, but it's something we just have to deal with. Brigadier General Terry, not mine, allied officer. So okay, detached skirmisher can plug the hole. We now have 2 units and a detached skirmisher. He's charging again. Legendary, it's a thing. So the further he gets into my line, the closer he's going to get to that artillery that is sitting there, and he's going to, he's not going to do well. Okay, the allied troops, or the reinforcements, are coming in. Terry has recovered. His attack now in the north is doomed. His attacks everywhere are actually doomed. His army has been degraded. Now it's just a question of how do you kill him. Okay, I took a moment and gave orders to my units. You don't want your infantry to hug the river as it moves to the south, because there's a movement penalty. So I'm trying to keep them in open terrain as much as possible, and I want to reinforce my line so there's no chance that the enemy breaks through. I mean, there's no reason to take any chances. So I'm sending 1 unit to the north, 1 unit to the middle of my line. I'm probably going to send a unit to the southern part of my line, and maybe replace units that have taken some knocks. And yeah, and then everybody else, their job is to go around the flank, the left flank of the enemy, and get into his artillery, and then just roll his flank up. And I intend that he's going to die against the, I guess it's the north right, the top right corner of the map near the observation post and beyond. But the enemy on Legendary is not going to fall back that far. He's going to stand and fight. So I like that about Legendary, that the enemy just stands and fights. That's a good thing. So yeah, like his unit right there standing, I don't even think about it anymore. He's just taking shot after shot. He's down to 800 men. He might stand there a very long time. If I never hit him with artillery, he might stand there. Well, he did stand there a long time. He might stand there even longer. But I have a 24-pound howitzer rolling up. And, yeah, his entire position there isn't going to last long. That 24-pound howitzer is going to open up on units that have already been damaged. And it's going to be ugly for him. So I'm hoping just to run my cav past his artillery and get behind his line. I want, first of all, the visibility. I want to be able to see his units, and if I get behind him on high ground, I should be able to see his units. And then my long-range guns should be able to start firing at his artillery. My 24-pound howitzers are going to just crush him. Yeah, I've moved my units in such a way, my infantry, that they should get to the front line or around the flank pretty fast and not exhausted, because I tried to keep them out of the woods. Everything's going well. So yeah. In the north, we've pushed him back so far, I've had to relocate the 24-pound howitzers. So that turned out really good. Okay, he's retreated away from my infantry that was in the woods. I'm going to have to advance in the open. I'm not, hadn't thought about that, because his artillery is still out there. And if I advance into the open, that's going to hurt. That's going to be bloody. Okay, so I have one of his artillery units that I've spotted. Need to get, I have 4 infantry units, detached skirmishers, and start to zero in on his artillery that he has on the left, and also break his left flank entirely. And I go in to take a shot on his artillery, and he has, unfortunately, 3 units of artillery just right there. So I dismount, take shots on the one that's closest, but that really probably isn't a good idea. He's just going to inflict losses on my cav. Good news is his artillery is not firing at my line anymore, so I can advance and engage his infantry, but probably not worth it. So my goal is to get a couple of his artillery units to rout, because once his artillery units rout, I'm looking at if I can get 2 of them up that I can see right there and get 2 of them to the south to rout, there will be 4 routed enemy units, and then I just drive them into the south of the map and annihilate them. Notice how when they are retreating, I'm noticing that they're retreating to the south. That means those are isolated units, flashing white, they're dead. And that's better than having to chase them to the north. So that's what I'm doing. So mount these guys up, get them out of there. And you always want to hit artillery with dismounted cav or detached skirmishers. You never ever want to walk infantry into canister. That's just really bloody. So I'm just hoping as I advance that all this canister is being absorbed by my detached skirmishers. So yeah, in the south I'm looking at possibly 3 more artillery units. If I can get them to rout, they're dead. They'll never be able to rejoin the rest of the army. These are all easy kills. Detached skirmishers and cav will be able to just wipe these guys out quickly. So I'm looking at the red bar, just moving forward and keeping shots on the enemy, which is all I was trying to do. And then hitting his left flank. And I remember I didn't pay much attention to the red bar, but the red bar has really shrunk. 24-pound howitzers and advancing infantry, the reinforcements came in and moved forward and then took shots on the enemy. And his army's practically dead. I mean, I expected a real fight, but he's just bled to death. And yeah, all I have to do is keep pushing up the artillery. I'm not doing a great job of pushing the artillery forward. It's not bad, but I can see some of my artillery is further back than it should be. And, you know, push the artillery forward, get shots on the enemy. He can't stand. My infantry is putting volleys into him. He can't survive that. Yeah, at this point, the only thing I'm concerned about are his oversized 3-star artillery units. Those guys he's still got a bunch of them, and they're deadly. But I think in every case, like I just saw someone take canister, that's an allied unit, fortunately. Yeah, in the south I have the 2-to-1 charge bonus, and he's dead. Yeah, the reason I brought 2 cav into this battle is the infantry is always exhausted by the time I mean, you only have a fixed amount of time in this battle. It's a very short battle. And you'll notice my infantry that has done the flanking movement is exhausted. And I can't just rest them for 30 minutes in game. There just isn't enough time. So, I mean, I guess I could. I have an hour and 16 minutes left. But always you get to this point and your infantry is exhausted, the ones that did the flanking maneuver. The guys who just advanced straight ahead, they shouldn't be exhausted. But most of the army that did the flanking maneuver is going to be exhausted. They always are. So the 2 cav units, the advantage they have is they're not exhausted. And even if I'd brought snipers, they would be useless right now. They'd be completely worn out. So yeah, the cav units will be able to keep the pressure on his artillery units that are routing, and that's what I want them to do. Just keep doing that. Keep moving forward. Keep taking shots. They shouldn't be tired. They've been doing a lot. You'll notice the detached skirmishers are exhausted, and yeah, all the detached skirmishers have to do is keep pressure on the enemy and just keep moving forward and driving the enemy away. But the cav can still fight. They're still in good shape. They can fight, and they can keep taking shots. And they're armed with burnsides, so they're going to do a really good job. Just taking shots, keeping the enemy routed. Yeah. And here we come down to the end where, to my surprise, there's just a couple of units left. I didn't advance my infantry into the river. I had them stop because getting into the water doubles the damage you take. And I just didn't want to do it, particularly with my army. Allied units, maybe. So it looks like he has, yeah, his one unit just shattered. I think he only has one left. So I can have everybody just charge on that guy. And yeah, this is 51 minutes to go. I have plenty of time. Yep, everybody charge. And he's gone. Okay. Yeah, good outcome. The results of the battle were I lost 4,000 with medicine, 4,100. He lost 18,697, almost 19,000. 4.5 to 1. A lot of the losses, I don't know what the ratio was for my units. It was obviously really good. I was really delighted with this battle. It was fun. It was a challenge it was a real adrenaline rush at the beginning. It's very exciting. There was always the fear that the enemy would just charge and I'd get pushed back and wouldn't be able to hold the victory location. The enemy never was able to do that. He did charge in a couple places and make it exciting. My units got some nice kills, some nice XP. Lost 2 1-stars, but I have 2 more 3-stars. The enemy had CS Richmonds and Fayettevilles. The other thing that's interesting is that manpower went down by 2, training went down by 1, and armory went down by 3. So that's a neat thing. We were able to degrade the enemy army on all 3 categories. I don't think that happens very much. He's been going up, at least in 1 of the 3 categories. So very, very happy with this battle. And the army looks good coming out of this. I mean, I'm looking at my units, and yeah, the army looks really good. As usual, I intend to replace everybody with raw recruits. He gets 16,100 highly spirited recruits, but training still goes down. So, yeah, I mean, it's still a high number, but at least it's going in the right direction. My fear is that I've put off supply raid to the last because the enemy always goes up hugely in manpower after supply raid. I don't know if that's a random thing or a programmed thing, but I expect the army size to go up a lot, even if I wipe the enemy out, which on Legendary I probably won't. So, yeah, you can see the numbers, here. And yeah, the army looks great. I'm just gonna, kind of savor the victory and see how these guys did. Yeah, raw recruits. And the next battle I have to think about is um, Chancellorsville, and I'm really looking forward to Chancellorsville. I actually want to drive scaling up because Chancellorsville is a great opportunity to inflict huge casualties on the enemy. And I would love to get a really high kill number. I've been getting much higher kill numbers in grand battles on legendary than I ever did on any other level of difficulty, and I'm looking forward to seeing how many we can kill at Chancellorsville. So supply raid and then Chancellorsville. I'll see you there.